Before I continue, I just want to say thank you to everybody that's been watching this channel, all the new subscribers. I've noticed the sub count is going up a lot in recent days, recent weeks, and I thank all of you. I really appreciate it, and I really enjoy the fact that you all are enjoying the content. So before we continue, press the like button. I need you all to press the like button, get as many likes as possible for this video. This is actually the last episode of Black History Monday for season 3. This is episode number 15. I know that it's been a little erratic lately. Some of these episodes are dropping on different days, but there's been a lot of stuff going on in the background, a lot of positive things for the channel and for other projects that I'm doing on the side. That's just taking up some more of my time. So it's all good though. And without further ado, the Elaine Massacre. The Elaine Massacre occurred on September 30th to October 1st, 1919 at Hoop Spur in the vicinity of Elaine in rural Phillips County, Arkansas. Some records of the time state that 11 black men and 5 white men were killed. Estimates of deaths made in the immediate aftermath of the Elaine Massacre by eyewitnesses range from 50 or more to more than 100. After this message, we'll go into more details. I want to talk a little bit about a new affiliate, Nagast Footwear. They are a black-owned company that makes some of the best quality shoes, clothes, and hats that I've seen in a very long time. They are designed to empower customers and to teach self-love, self-respect, and self-confidence. I've purchased some of their footwear, and they have lasted me well over a year. Nagast Footwear makes sneakers, running shoes, slippers, boots, hats, and clothing. I love my slippers. I love my sneakers. Even game show contestants love my sneakers. Click my affiliate link below to visit their site to browse and to shop. Every purchase helps me grow this platform. Walter Francis White, an NAACP attorney who visited Elaine shortly after the incident, stated, 25 Negroes killed, although some place the Negro fatalities as high as 100. More recent estimates of the number of black people killed during this violence are higher than estimates provided by the eyewitnesses, recently ranging into the hundreds. The white mobs were aided by federal troops, requested by Arkansas Governor Charles Hillman Brow, and terrorist organizations like the Ku Klux Klan. According to the Encyclopedia of Arkansas, the Elaine Massacre was by far the deadliest racial confrontation in Arkansas history and possibly the bloodiest racial conflict in the history of the United States. White Arkansas residents, fearful of what would happen if African Americans organized, took violent action, but it was the victims who ended up standing trial. The sharecroppers who gathered at a small church in Elaine, Arkansas in the late hours of September 30th, 1919, knew the risk they were taking. Upset about unfair low wages, they enlisted the help of a prominent white attorney from Little Rock, Ulysses Bratton, to come to Elaine to press for a fairer share in the profits of their labor. Each season, landowners came around demanding obscene percentages of the profits without ever presenting the sharecroppers detailed accounting and trapping them with supposed debts. There was very little recourse for African American tenant farmers against this exploitation. Instead, there was an unwritten law that no African American could leave until his or her debt was paid off. Organizers hoped Bratton's presence would bring more pressure to bear through the courts. Aware of the dangers, the atmosphere was tense after racially motivated violence in the area. Some of the farmers were armed with rifles. At around 11 p.m. that night, a group of local white men, some of whom may have been affiliated with local law enforcement, fired shots into the church. The shots were returned, and in the chaos, one white man was killed. Rumors arose that the sharecroppers, who had formerly joined a union known as the Progressive Farmers and Household Union of America, or PFHUA, were leading an organized insurrection against the white residents of Phillips County. Governor Charles Brow called for 500 soldiers from nearby Camp Pike to, as the Arkansas Democrat reported on October 2nd, round up the heavily armed Negroes. The troops were under order to shoot to kill any Negro who refused to surrender immediately. They went well beyond that, banding together with local vigilantes and killing at least 200 African Americans. Estimates run much higher, but there was never a full accounting. And the killing was indiscriminate. Men, women, and children unfortunate enough to be in the vicinity were slaughtered. Amidst the violence, 5 whites died, but for those deaths, someone would have to be held accountable. Despite its impact, little about the carnage in Elaine was unique during the summer of 1919. It was part of a period of vicious reprisals against African American veterans returning home from World War I. Many whites believed that these veterans, including Robert Hill, who co-founded PFHUA, posed a threat as they claimed greater recognition for their rights at home. Even though they served in large numbers, black soldiers realized over the course of the war and in the immediate aftermath that their achievement and their success actually provoked more rage and more vitriol than if they had utterly failed.
We actually don't know how bad it gets. Estimates of the dead range from 15 upward to over 800.
It was the largest mass terror lynching in the United States history.
Despite those shocking statistics, the Elaine Race Massacre is an event almost forgotten to history.
One of the things that we have to understand when we look at Elaine is that it was really part of a larger narrative that historians refer to as Red Summer.
Black soldiers come back from World War I. They believe that they're citizens now that they've participated on behalf of the country, and they find themselves being cheated once again by plantation owners.
Those sharecroppers tried to form a union. Landowners infiltrated their meeting, forced a confrontation, and days of bloodshed began. Calling it an insurrection, federal troops rolled into Phillips County.
Machine gun units, companies are sent out to suppress the revolution, the supposed revolution.
The massacre died down only because the harvest arrived. Dozens of black men ended up under arrest. Years later, they would be exonerated by the U.S. Supreme Court.
This becomes really the first major victory for the NAACP and the first real blow against lynching in America.
But despite that victory, violence remains a plague to this day. Jim Crow stayed in place for decades, and there are still echoes of what happened in our modern world. All the more reason to retell the story now and in the future.
Ultimately, it's the remembering and the telling of those stories that will allow it to live on and truly be the memorial to the victims of Elaine that they deserve.
During the massacre, Arkansas resident Leroy Johnston, who had spent 9 months recovering in a hospital from injuries he suffered in the trenches of France, was pulled from a train shortly after returning home and was shot to death alongside his 3 brothers. In places like Phillips County, where the economy directly depended on the predatory system of sharecropping, white residents were inclined to view the activities of Hill and others as the latest in a series of dangerous agitations. In the days after bloodshed in Elaine, local media coverage continued to fan the flames daily, reporting sensational stories of an organized plot against whites. A 7-man committee formed to investigate the killings. Their conclusions all too predictable. The following week, they issued a statement in the Arkansas Democrat declaring the gathering in Elaine a deliberately planned insurrection if the Negroes against the whites, led by the PFHUA, whose founders used ignorance and superstition of a race of children for monetary gains. None of this is a surprise. U.S. history is full of this race hate. These race haters keep telling us to get over it when slavery comes up, but many of them are blind to the fact that their own historians have worked so hard to bury our history. Humanity is doomed to extinction unless we begin to realize that we are not each other's enemy. You want to know why black people can't forget about these types of things? U.S. history is full of these types of massacres, and they've worked extra hard to hide them from as many of us as possible. Many of us don't want to research. We don't want to know the truth, and when we find out the truth, we spend most of our time fighting against the truth because we are so dependent on the lie that we have been brought up to believe. Every single year, we're told to remember the Holocaust, never forget 9/11, But why do we have to work so hard to forget everything that was done to Black people? Everything that was done to try and destroy us and erase us from existence. All of the hangings, all of the burnings, the shootings, and you tell us to forget about it. Well, if this happened to your family and people kept telling you to forget about it, what would you do? Make sure you subscribe, like, and share. Click the notification bell so you'll be notified when we upload new videos. Find The Awakening Frequency on Twitter, Instagram, and on Facebook. Research is key. Always do your own research and never just listen to what people tell you. We are The Awakening Frequency. Out of the millions of potential subscribers, we just want to reach one so each one can teach one. Peace.